Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to this evening's webinar. This is exclusive for student parents of BTEC Digital Design. And in this webinar today, we're going to be looking at our post-16 offering for BTEC Digital Design, specifically the Level 3 BTEC course, and how this ties into university pathways and career progression. The webinar is being recorded, so there's going to be lots of information in this webinar. You might want to get a pen and a piece of paper and just jot down notes as I'm talking, and towards the end there'll be a question and answer session, so you can drop some questions in the chat box at the end of the session if I've not covered something, and I'll try to answer all of your queries. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to go through some course information. Just to remind everyone about BTEC and to explain to you how the post-16 pathway works in comparison to the Level 2. So what is a BTEC? So as a lot of you are probably aware, a BTEC is a British qualification. It's just like GCSE. It's just a different type of British qualification. It stands for Business and Technology Education Council, if you're wondering what a BTEC is. And it is offered at multiple levels. At West Island School, we offer a Level 2 to students in year 10 and 11. And we also offer a Level 3 in years 12 and 13. And it's a Level 3 course that we're going to be looking at in today's webinar. BTECs are more focused on practical application and industry standard skills. So this is the big comparison or the big difference between a BTEC course and an IB course, is that they really want lecturers and teachers and students to focus on and practice those industry standard skills. And it's a very, very open specification. We have a lot of freedom to make sure we cover lots and lots of different industry skills. The other difference between a BTEC and an IB is that a BTEC course is 100% coursework, and all of the units of coursework that students complete are internally assessed. So I mark all of the BTEC coursework, and then it is quality control checked by a UK-based moderator. She'll email me about halfway through the course, give me a list of students, just a couple of students that are on the course that she wants to sample the coursework of. I'll send her their work with the grades that I've given them, and then she will just quality control check and sign that off. It is a recognised pathway to further education and employment, and I'm going to talk in a little bit more detail about that later on. And lots of universities, not just in the UK, worldwide, do accept BTEC qualifications for entry into degree programmes. And we've been running BTEC courses, various different subjects at West Island School for years now. And we've got a list of data, and there's lots of different countries where students have gone to from a BTEC course in year 12 and 13 into university studies. And employers, if they see a BTEC on a CV, especially for the creative industries, they really value that because they understand that BTECs focus on that industry standard knowledge and skill. So they appreciate that a BTEC is quite vocational and it's all about the practical learning. So a little bit about the Level 3 BTEC Digital Design course. We try at West Island School to include a wide range of disciplines within the course. Digital design is kind of an umbrella term. And then within that, we've got 3 categories: experiential design, communication design, and motion design. And within those, we've then got subcategories of things, disciplines, specialisms that we try to teach students and let students develop skills in and explore for careers in various different creative industries. So things like app and web design, we do graphic design, illustration, animation. We try to cover lots of different abilities and topics. The thing that ties it all together is the industry standard software. So it's digital design. Everything students produce is created using digital software, and we use software that is used in industry as well. We want them to work like industry professionals and learn the software that they'll not only use in university if they continue with the course in one of these disciplines, but also in a job. And then what we also do is in year 12, when we get new students in the class, we will give the students a Google form. We'll ask them some questions, ask them which of these areas, these 9 areas, they are particularly interested in. And then we will tailor the course for those students. So the current year 13s are very interested in graphic design as a cohort, really. So a lot of their design briefs over the last 2 years have been graphic design based. The current year 12s, though, we've got a bit of a mixed bag. We've got students who want to do digital illustration, graphic design. Some students want to do web. So they are going to do a range of different design briefs in year 12 to try and make sure that there's something for everybody on the course. So at West Island School, and I know you are going to have a webinar in a couple of weeks. I think it's maybe next week with some of the post-16 leads. But at West Island School, there are 3 pathways. There is the IBDP pathway, which is where students study only IB subjects. And then there are 2 pathways where students can study a BTEC in digital design and some other BTEC subjects as well. So those pathways are ID and IBCP. BTEC Digital Design can be studied on the ID pathway. And this first option is for students who want to do 2 BTEC subjects at West Island School, but BTEC Digital Design isn't their primary subject. They're more interested in maybe one of the other BTEC subjects. We offer subjects like engineering, sports, business, film. So maybe they want to major in one of those BTEC subjects and take BTEC Digital Design as a sub-BTEC. And then they also study a higher level IB and a standard level IB subject. If students did this pathway, the BTEC Digital Design course that they would complete would be equivalent to 1 higher level IB or 1 A-level subject. So just as for an example, they might take BTEC Business as their main BTEC. They might take BTEC Digital Design as their sub-diploma course, IB Visual Art at higher level, and IB Biology at standard level. Option 2 for BTEC Digital Design, again, is on the ID pathway. So they're studying 2 BTEC subjects, but digital design is their primary BTEC. So they would study that BTEC for more hours per cycle in the timetable, and they would get a qualification that's equivalent to 2 higher level IB subjects or 2 A levels in the BTEC Digital Design. The difference between, as you can see in the information presented, is option 1 in the sub-diploma of BTEC Digital Design. They would complete 2 units, each weighted at 50%. And option 2, they would complete 4 units, each weighted at 25%. And then the final pathway that we have at West Island is IBCP. And this is where students want to have a balance between BTEC and IB. So they do 1 BTEC subject for 4 units if it's BTEC Digital Design, and it's still, that BTEC is equivalent to 2 higher level IB or 2 A levels. But then they'll do 2 higher level IB subjects and 1 standard level IB subject. So it's more evenly weighted. They still do a BTEC, but they also do 3 IB subjects alongside of that. For example, they would do BTEC Digital Design, IB Visual Art higher level, IB Maths higher level, IB Psychology standard level. Now, the difference between the ID pathway and the IBCP pathway in comparison with the IB diploma pathway, where they study 6 IB subjects, is that students don't have to choose a subject from every IB category. They can do any subjects at IB. So they don't have to choose a maths, an English, they don't have to choose a humanities or a creative subject. It's completely open, because the point of these programs is that it's preparing students for various careers, or maybe they just want a bit more of a tailored program in choosing subjects that they like and enjoy. They don't want it to be restricted. Okay, so what do these units look like? So if I just flick back a second. So on the IBCP pathway 4 units, and also on the ID pathway if they choose BTEC Digital Design as their main BTEC. And if it's the ID pathway and it's not their main BTEC subject, they do 2 units. So the units are in year 12, an ID student and an IBCP student will do a skills development unit. And they do this for the entire year, and they're given lots of different design briefs that cover a variety of disciplines, depending again on what the cohort wants to learn in that year group. So we might cover graphic design, illustration, animation, advertising, digital marketing. I will write design briefs for them. They will spend several weeks following the design cycle, producing evidence, and creating a product that answers a design brief. At the end of that unit as well, we also have an open choice project. So we let students write their own design brief. So they might decide to write a design brief that's going to be linked to their university choice. So if they know they want to study animation at university, they'll say, okay, I'm going to write myself a design brief where I have to produce an animation. So they are working in their chosen discipline towards the end of year 12. In year 13, the other compulsory unit that all students study, regardless of the pathway, is responding to a brief. So we are given a design brief written by Pearson, who is the BTEC examination board, and we have to treat it like an exam in the sense that we have to release it to students all at the same time. They've got to work independently. And the brief is very open in terms of the outcome that students can choose to produce. But then that still is evidenced in their university portfolio, and it is still graded by me. It's not externally marked, but I don't write the design brief, and neither do the students. So an example would be, we've had a design brief where students are working for a charity called Smile, and you can either produce a logo, an animation for the charity, a website for the charity, an advert for the charity, a video game to promote awareness for the charity, and the students can choose any of those outcomes from the list, working in their desired specialism in response to the same client. Okay, so then we have some major units, and these units are only, if I just go back a second, on option 3 or 2 of the pathways. So these are the 2 extra units that you would do. Again, these 2 units are equivalent to a higher level IB or A level. So the major unit, if they were doing the IBCP pathway or ID pathway, where BTEC Digital Design is their major course, would be a careers progression, a personal progression unit. So in this unit, students have time with the teachers to research several career pathways. We map those pathways to different universities, so they actually research what universities offer courses in the career of their choice. They decide on some personalised goals towards achieving that career, and then they produce personal promotion items for themselves. So they'll design a brand identity or a logo for themselves. They'll create an illustrated CV. They'll produce an online portfolio of all of their work. And we help them as well to write their personal statement in preparation for their university application. So if students are going on to a creative course at university, this is a really good unit for them, because we do all of the application process with them. and we prepare everything with them that they will need to apply for that university course, including things like mock interviews, and all of that is graded against the criteria that I'll show you in a second, and it's just really useful for them for going to university. And then finally, the last unit, that is a major unit studied in year 13, is a creative industry response. So we have to approach a real Hong Kong-based client and ask them to work with the students and set the students a design brief. So this year, the year 13s are working with a kombucha company called Kombucha. You might have heard of it before. It sells kombucha drinks in lots and lots of supermarkets across Hong Kong, City Super, and they have set a design brief for students where they've asked students to design the packaging, the label for a bottle of kombucha that will be a Christmas special. So students are working very closely with this real client in Hong Kong. They're designing this packaging, they're pitching their ideas to the client next week, and the client will give them feedback. The students will act on feedback, and then the client will pick one of the students' work and actually produce that in the supermarkets for the Christmas special this year. So one of those students will have their work actually in situ, in real life, sold to customers. Opportunity, but it's also a very good opportunity for all of the students because they're getting hands-on experience with clients. Okay. So how is the course assessed? So all 4 of those units are assessed with identical criteria. So in every unit, students are graded against these 5 criteria: informing ideas, problem solving, technical skill, professional practice, and communication. Each of the 5 criteria in a unit is awarded a pass, merit, or a distinction. Pass being the lowest grade, distinction being the highest. These 5 stages are the stages that a designer would actually work to in real life. So stage 1 is research. You get a design brief, you go and do some primary and secondary research to help you to design and solve the problem that the client has given you. Stage 2 is they're graded for their ability to come up with original ideas, to test and experiment with different methods in response to the design brief. Stage 3 is they are graded for their technical skill. So this is where they use and apply that software to produce their final design or final outcome, and how skillfully that is produced, that's graded pass, merit, or distinction. Stage 4 is professional practice. So this is about their ability to meet deadlines, which is obviously really important in industry as a designer, to be organized, to demonstrate professional behavior, as in following copyright legislation, being professional when they're interacting with our real clients that we have them work with, and just being able to manage the project. And then the last stage is communication. So they are given a grade on their ability to not only communicate visually through their final response, but also verbally with the target audience, with clients, when they're speaking to peers and teachers. So these are the 5 criteria, and they're graded pass, merit, or distinction in every unit for those criteria. Okay, so that was a bit about the course. If you have any questions, you can jot them down. I'll answer them at the end. And now I'd just like to talk a little bit about careers links. Okay, so digital design, it is a fairly new subject, and because it is a technology-focused subject and technology is changing every day, every second, new careers pop up all of the time. So it's a very forward-thinking course. Some of these careers you might never have heard of, and they certainly didn't exist when I was in school, or when I was applying for a job after my university degree. So for example, one career pathway that is really, really strong at the minute is UI UX design. And this stands for user interface or user experience design. And you'll now see when you search for university courses, a lot of courses being offered in this area. And this is designing how a website or a mobile app looks and works for a user. So it's not to do with coding. You don't need to know how to code to go into UI UX design. It's about the visuals, how you use color, icons, typography, graphics to help the user interact with the website or the mobile app. And it's about how you've planned the journey the user will take through a mobile app or a website. So it's all about graphics, understanding psychology, human behavior, how users interact with different products. It does help if you can code. So if students are interested in computer science as well, maybe they're thinking of studying that too, it would be beneficial for them to study both digital design and computer science, because some employers look for people that can do both types of, and then you'll be paid a higher rate because you're technically doing two people's jobs in one. Okay, so that's the first one. Then we have animation, which I'm sure you've heard of before, but animation is not just about TV or movie animation. Animation now is all over social media. You have people that design animations specifically for Instagram, for websites, for Facebook. You've got animation now within video games, and not just video game consoles like PlayStations or Xboxes. We now have virtual reality video games, and animations feature heavily in those. You've got animations for advertisement purposes as well. So animation, again, is a massive market now, and there's lots and lots of different areas of animation that students can go into, and lots of different university degrees as well in this area. Couple of other areas which I'll just touch upon: digital marketing. So this is a fairly new career pathway since social media was produced and started to be used. Digital marketers help brands and companies market their company on social media. So they're like Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and Twitter experts, and they will use advertising skills and their knowledge of social media to provide brands and companies with advice on how to market to social media users. We've got digital illustration, which lots of our students are really talented in already, but you could go into character design from that. It does tie into animation as well. You've got book illustration, packaging illustration, strands, graphic design. A lot of our students are really passionate about. And again, graphic design is a very popular degree course, lots and lots of jobs in this area. They still do animate a little bit and do motion graphics. They do work with UI UX designers, designing graphics for them, for their websites. So a lot of these careers tie in together. And then a couple more: games design, fashion promotion, and I've saw now some new courses at universities, VR and AR reality courses, do with virtual reality and augmented reality, gaming and experiential different user platforms. Okay. So one thing that I just wanted to make sure that I covered was career progression in a design industry, because I think sometimes people think that it doesn't have career progression in design, and it actually does, just like lots and lots of other career pathways. So I'm just going to show you this example, and this is an example of what career progression would look like for a graphic designer. And designers actually work in design agencies. They don't usually work by themselves. Some of them do freelance, but the majority of designers work for a large company or an organization, And within that company, there are different roles, and you progress through the roles, through the career ladder, to get different progression opportunities. So this would be a student who'd studied a 3 or 4 year degree in BA Honours Graphic Design. When they finish university, they would apply for a job and they would get the role of a junior designer. And a junior designer has just graduated from university, they're hired into a junior position. In the big organisation, they will be given lots of projects, but for smaller clients. Then that junior designer would progress into a middleweight designer. And then they could progress into a senior designer. And as the progression roles increase, the higher ranked roles work with bigger clients, because the bigger clients like Coca-Cola will want the best working on their design briefs. So the higher up you get in design, the bigger the clients that you get to work with. Then the next role up for this would be creative director. And then at the top, you normally have the agency owner. So this is the person that employs all the other designers, all the other admin staff. They own the design agency. They earn all of the company profits. But there is what I'm trying to explain in design. So you do work for a big organization, you work with lots and lots of different people, and there's lots of different roles and different rates of progression within that agency. Okay, so university studies. So what does a top design university look like? So in this section, I want to just show you a couple of design universities, what to look for when you're searching for a university in a course, and what are the things that you should look for when you're searching for it and making your decisions on where to send students. So a good design university is not necessarily part of the Russell Group, it's not an Ivy League university. Those types of universities don't really focus on creative courses. They're great for, medicine and law and accounting, but they're not really the best in terms of design. So I would say not to look at the Russell Group universities. That isn't where you're going to find the best design courses. What to look for. So a good design university course will have a range of creative courses, not just one listed and the rest aren't creative pathways. It should have quite a wide range, and look for ones that have future thinking courses. So they have UI UX design, they have AR VR design, so they're using lots of new and modern technology within their courses and within their faculties. A good university should have strong connections with the design industry. So they should be inviting in lecturers from the design industry, from different design agencies, to work with students, to do briefs with students, to talk to students, to give work placements to students. And another good thing to look for is a placement year. So a lot of the design degree courses will say that they offer a professional placement year, and sometimes they call this a sandwich degree course. This means that rather than studying just a 3-year degree in design, the course will be 4 years long. And one of those years is a year where the student goes to work in industry for the entire year. They go to interview at multiple design agencies that the university course has got links with, and then they go for a year and work in one of those agencies. And this is really good because it gives students hands in that company, and a lot of the times the company will hire the student, if they've done a really good job, into that junior designer position afterwards. Another thing to look out for is award-winning students and lecturers. So in the design industry, There are lots of different awards. There's awards for animation, there's awards for graphic design. One of the graphic design awards is a D&AD pencil. And this is like a renowned award in the design industry. Students, it's for all industry professionals. A good course will enter students into those types of competitions, and their students should really win awards, and they should list that on their websites, or if you speak to them in person when you do your visits or interviews. And the lecturers as well, they should have some awards too. And to be a university lecturer in design, you have to have a certain number of years industry experience. To just check and make sure that the lecturers are experienced in their field. And lastly, the facilities. So what facilities does the faculty have access to? What do the creative studios look like? What equipment do they have? Do they have 3D printers? Do they have green screens? Do they have things that aren't even necessarily part of that specific course, but that students can access in their own time if they want to? And good universities will have lots of really outstanding facilities in the faculties. Okay, so entry requirements. We've done this year a lot of research into entry requirements for various countries of study. Now, for a creative course, regardless of the country, every single course that I have looked at says that the portfolio is the most important aspect of the entry requirements. So it's more important than grades. They want to see a portfolio of student work that is really high quality, and they want to be able to see the skills that students demonstrated, what they're passionate about, what they're interested in, and that portfolio is shown to them prior to acceptance, which I'll go through in a second. But it's really key to securing a place on a university course. They will give students a virtual interview. So that's probably the second most important aspect of getting into university for our creative students. And when they interview students, they ask them to talk through their portfolio of work. This is why the BTEC course is really important, because we practice that interview with them. We've been through the process ourselves as teachers. We have connections with universities in the UK who actually do mock interviews with students as well, and do some portfolio critiques with them. It's all to prepare them for this virtual interview. If it's a UK university, they will ask for a certain number of UCAS points, which I'll go through in a second. And if it's a non-UK university, so Europe, America, Australia, they ask for IB grades as well. And then a common theme amongst all of the universities is, even though it's a creative pathway and they want a portfolio and they want to interview you, they want to make sure that you have English language ability. So if it's a UK university, there will be a minimum GCSE grade for English language. And it's usually, I'll show you the list in a second, but it's usually a grade C or a grade 4 in GCSE English. And if it's a non-UK university, some of them take IB English as evidence that the student has basic English skills, or they will ask for an English language test, and they just list a couple of online platforms. Some of them even accept Duolingo, and they ask for a score from this online test, and you just produce evidence of your score that it meets the basic English requirements. Okay, so UCAS points, this is applicable for UK universities. So if students are on the IBCP pathway, or they're on that ID pathway where BTEC Digital Design is their main BTEC course, you can see here that their final grade, because they get a double award, is worth a certain number of UCAS points. So for example, in BTEC Digital Design, the student on the IBCP IBCP pathway gets a double merit, they get 64 UCAS points. They'll also get points for their IB higher level and IB standard level courses. So they might be also studying IB higher level maths and they've got 4, so they get 24 points. IB standard level English and they get a 6. And then all of our students on the IBCP and ID pathways do something called a reflective project, which is kind of like an essay where they write about a topic that they're interested in. And those final grades for that essay also equate to UCAS points. All of the UCAS points add up, and then the universities in the UK will list on their websites how many UCAS points are needed alongside the portfolio to get into that university course. So here's an example. And this would be a student doing the diploma BTEC Digital Design, which is the double higher level IB equivalent course. And then a couple of IB subjects, a reflective project would give them 208 UCAS points. The creative degree courses in the UK average ask for between 80 and 128 points. So you can see they clearly get way more points, even with not necessarily the best grades in their IB subjects, to get into university in the UK. If students are going to study outside of the UK, the UCAS point system is not applicable. It's only for UK universities. So the US, Canada, Australia, they will also sometimes ask for IB grades. So they'll ask for what the students' predicted grades in their IB subjects are, and then they'll say, okay, we want you to achieve this. What I would strongly suggest, if students know that they're not going to the UK because of the English language requirement for countries outside of the UK, who don't understand GCSEs, I think it's really helpful if students study IB English alongside BTEC Digital Design. And also IB Visual Arts is another course that would be really useful to study in the BTEC Digital Design pathway. It'll strengthen their application. They can use some of their IB Visual Arts work in their portfolio, so they've got some traditional techniques in there as well. And the IB English is a really good way for them to demonstrate that they have basic English skills as an international applicant. So what is the application process? And this is for all students, regardless of the pathway. But this is for if they were going to apply to a creative course in university. So students choose multiple universities, and they can choose multiple countries as well. So they might pick 5 universities in the UK, a university in the US, a university in Australia. Doesn't all have to be universities in the same country. So they choose their universities, they choose their courses at that university that they want to apply for. Then they're asked to upload some documentation. So usually it's their predicted grades at that time. They obviously haven't got their final grades at this point. If it's in the UK, they want a personal statement, which we write on the BTEC course with the students. If it's not the UK, they have a different type of personal statement. It's slightly different, but again, we write that on the BTEC course. Sometimes they'll ask for GCSE transcripts, just a couple of different documents. Then the next step would be the university will get in touch with the students directly, and they'll ask them to upload a copy of their design portfolio. So all of the work that they've produced on BTEC Digital Design and maybe a little bit from IB Visual Arts. That'll be uploaded to the portfolio portals. And then they're asked to attend the virtual interview that I spoke about earlier. And that will usually be with the university course lecturers. normally via Zoom, because we're international and we're not in those countries where students are applying to. And in that interview, that it's pretty casual, they will ask students what they're interested in, what they're studying currently, what they're passionate about, and then they'll ask them to share a screen like I am with you now, and go through their portfolio and explain the brief, their ideas process, how they came to their idea, what software they used, and just talk through their own work. Again, we practice that in the BTEC course with students, just to make sure that they're ready. We film it so they can watch it back as well. And then last stage would be they would get an offer. So they would be notified of a conditional offer, which means the university wants a grade-based offer. So they might say, we really like your portfolio, but we'd also like you to get a 6 in your IB English course that you're studying now and a 4 in maths. Or they'll get an unconditional offer. So I really like your portfolio. We don't mind what grades you get. Your portfolio is amazing, so we just want to give you a place on our course. Rough timelines, but this varies depending on the country and the university. But all of this happens in year 13. So they start choosing their universities around about now, September time, all the way up until December, uploading their predicted grades. And then after Christmas is when they're contacted by universities to upload their portfolios, have their interview. And then towards the end of the year, they get the notification of offers. Okay, so what do they look for in the portfolio? So in the portfolio, they want examples of work created in a range of media and mediums. So this is why we cover a range of disciplines in the BTEC Digital Design course, because we want to prove that students can do branding, but they can also do animation, they can do illustration, even though they might be applying for a specialist degree course, they're capable of answering multiple types of design briefs. If they're studying IB visual art, we can put in some of their traditional artwork that they've done with the teachers at West Island School, because they do like to see their ability to draw, as well as paint and work in 3D as well. They're quite interested in that. They look at their problem solving skills, so they want to see from what ideas they tested and maybe didn't work out. They want to just mainly chat to them and make sure they're passionate about design. They want to check that they can communicate their ideas verbally in the interview as well as visually, that they can discuss things and take on people's point of view. And they're looking for potential mainly, not the finished article. So they're not looking for university standard students. They understand that they are in year 12 and 13, and they want to see potential for them to be able to grow on their degree course. Okay, so what we have started to do is put together a list of design related courses and universities. I will share this with you after the webinar, but it's basically just a spreadsheet. And along the bottom, we've got different tabs for the different continents. So we've got United Kingdom, Europe, North America, which does include Canada as well, and Australia. For the United Kingdom, I've added in the UCAS points that the course requires. So for example, if one of our students wants to go to the University of Arts in London, they might be interested in this graphic communication degree. To get onto that course, besides portfolio, you need 80 UCAS points. And then this university would like at least 3 GCSEs, a grade 4 or above in the English language. And then there's several universities. Now, they're not ranked, so they're not in rank order. And this is obviously not every university in the world. These are ones that the criteria that I shared with you earlier, are really like top design universities. For Europe, North America and Australia, we don't have the UCAS points, because remember, UCAS points aren't applicable for those destinations. So you've just got the university and the courses, and then you can click into those and you can see what the English language requirement is and the tests, the online tests that students can do to prove their basic levels of English. So that's just quite a useful document for you, just to show you different pathways and universities. And we are adding to this, and a lot of these universities, we know students previously who've studied on the IBCP or the ID pathway have actually been accepted onto. So I'm just going to show you some examples of past students' case studies from West Island School. So student 1, they studied the ID pathway. So this is where you do a mix of 2 BTEC courses. They took BTEC Art and Design, and Art and Design BTEC, it doesn't exist now because we replaced it with BTEC Digital Design because it was very traditional, a bit like IB Art. So these are all based on a previous BTEC course, but it's the same type of course in that it requires a portfolio ready for university. But they studied that. They studied BTEC Business and they did IB Film Standard Level. They went to do a graphic design degree at Edinburgh Napier University. When they applied and they submitted their portfolio and they did their interview, the university wanted them to get a double distinction in the BTEC Art and Design course and a pass in the BTEC Business. No requirements for the IB Film. Student 2 went to America, to the US. They did the IBCP pathway. They did, again, BTEC Art and Design, IB English at higher level, IB Maths applications at standard, and IB Psychology at standard. They studied illustration at the School of Visual Arts in New York, which is an amazing design school. And the only requirement was to maintain your current predicted grades. So when the student entered what they were predicted to get in all 4 of those subjects, they just said, portfolio is great, maintain your current predicted grades. Student 3 for Canada, again, studied BTEC Art and Design alongside BTEC Business and IB English Lang and Lit. They got offered a place at OCAD University in Toronto. Again, really, really good design university, lots of creative pathways, and actually they've got an AR and VR course offered there too. And they chose to study illustration. And student 4, Australia, again on the IBCP pathway, doing the BTEC Art and Design alongside English Lang Lit at standard, Maths at standard, History at standard. So they didn't do any higher level subjects. They just did 3 standards plus the BTEC. They went to do Visual Art in Sydney. And again, it was maintain your predicted grades, and the predicted grades were distinction, distinction star in the Art and Design, 6, 5, 5. And lastly, Hong Kong. So Hong Kong doesn't have many design courses in this country. A lot of digital design related courses. It does have a few, but this student did the BTEC Art and Design, and then they continued to do a higher diploma of visual communication at Hong Kong Design Institute. They studied 2 BTECs at WIS plus English Lang and Lit, and the requirements for them were to get double distinction star in your Art and Design, a distinction star in your Performing Arts BTEC, no requirement for the English language IB. That student tried Hong Kong Design Institute. They didn't like the teaching style there. Obviously, all students are different, but they didn't like the way it was taught. So they decided to drop out of that university, and then they were accepted into PolyU in Hong Kong. Again, another good design university. So that's where they study now. Okay. Questions? Let's see.
All right. Shanice,
Yeah.
we have some questions submitted by parents over here.
Mm.
I'll go through them one by one.
Yeah.
Okay. Is an iPad needed for this course if a
No,
student is to join? Yeah.
no, it's not required for the course. We do have a class set of iPads. It's obviously useful if students have their own device because it means that outside of lessons at home, they can continue with their design work and in the holidays and stuff like that. But we do have a class set of iPads that students have access to during the school day. So it's not a requirement.
Right. What kind of support does West Island School offer for portfolio development, gauging student progress, if there are any red flags, and so on?
So the BTEC Digital Design course helps students to produce that portfolio. So all of their projects that they work on in years 12 and 13 are collated, and the best ones go into their portfolio for university applications. And as I mentioned previously, we do the whole process with them. We get the portfolio ready, we do the interview, we do the personal statement. So there's loads of support if they study the BTEC Digital Design course.
Another question is, do you have any suggestions on gaining practical experiences um, that will help with further education applications?
Um, Students can do work experience in Hong Kong in the summer. I guess that would be some practical experience. There are a few design agencies here that they could reach out to and ask for in between year 12 and 13 some summer work experience with them, but also we do that unit in the BTEC where we work with a real client. So that is the most hands-on practical experience that students at West Island School are going to get. It's a real life project. So we work with clients and do a lot of hands-on stuff in the course as well.
Thank you. Another one is, will doing a BTEC course restrict one's options at US unis?
No. So we've had lots of students doing BTEC courses at West Island previously, not just BTEC Digital Design or Art and Design. We do BTEC Business, BTEC Engineering, and we've had lots of students go to the US. Obviously, every university and destination is different, but for the BTEC Digital Design, because the portfolio is such a key, huge factor, this course is perfect for them. It will prepare them with that portfolio and it will help them actually to get into all of the different countries that they're applying for.
All right. Yes, we have some more. So this is another question. Between a student with BTEC and a student with IB with the same grades and the same profile, who would be prioritized when applying for uni?
It depends what they're going to apply for. If they're applying for a creative course at university, like BA Honours Graphic Design, Animation, they are not going to have the portfolio if they do the IBDP pathway, because none of those courses that are offered will produce a portfolio of digital evidence. So it depends on the course. If they were going to study medicine, at university, then the IBDP pathway would be the pathway to choose because you don't need a portfolio for medicine. So it depends on the course, basically.
Right. With so many resources, Shanice, we have a parent asking, what does ID stand for?
I actually did think about this. I'm not sure. IBCP stands for IB Careers Programme. ID, I think it's about individual program. I think that's what it's short for, because it's even more tailored to the student. They get to choose 2 BTEC subjects and less IB subjects, so it's more personalized. So I think it's individual, but I will check.
Okay. And this one, are students allowed to share their designs on Instagram or social media? Are there guidelines for doing this?
Yes, they are allowed to share their work on social media. We actually encourage it as part of the personal progression unit. We ask them to make an Instagram account and share their coursework, share their projects. They make a Behance account as well, which is like an online social media for creatives, and they upload all of their project work to there, and they give feedback to each other. So yeah, it is encouraged. It's not against the rules.
Where do CAS points come in?
I don't know with that one. You'll have to wait until next week's post 16 webinar, but I'm not entirely sure how they convert. I don't think you get UCAS points from CAS, as far as I'm aware. I think it's just a requirement of both the IBDP and IBCP and ID program that they have to do CAS. But I don't think it equates to UCAS points. But yeah, there is a webinar next week on all of this pathway specific stuff.
When was BTEC Level 3 Digital Design started at WIS?
So it started last year, and the current year 13s will be the first cohort to complete the BTEC Digital Design. But the BTEC Art and Design, which was the old course, was running for years and years before this. We just wanted to modernize it and choose a different specification from BTEC that let us do more digital outcomes like web and app and animation, things that weren't in the specification for the BTEC Art and Design. So yeah, it's 1 year old, but the level 2 has been running now for 5 years.
Okay. If a student chose IBCP path and eventually decided to give up studying digital design related courses in uni, will that student have any limitation, or will they be at a disadvantage to apply to other design related unis?
It depends on the university, it depends on the destination and what they would want to change to study. So we always say if students are insistent that they want to do medicine at university, they should go on the IBDP pathway, because one of the requirements of medicine at university is multiple science subjects at IB. So obviously if a student went on the IBCP pathway, they picked digital design, they got to uni, they decided, actually, I want to go and do medicine, they wouldn't have those IB grades for medicine. So again, it's dependent on what they would change to, and the subjects they'd studied and the university as well.
There's a parent wondering if AI would affect the digital industry, and in what way?
Yeah, so we've been actually doing a lot of work on AI currently with our year 13 students. They've just written their reflective project essay about AI. So they've been doing lots of research in it. AI is just a new function, I guess, in a designer's tool set. So Adobe Photoshop now has AI features in it, and designers love it. It just helps us to work faster and more efficiently. So rather than spending time on some of the more minor admin tasks that we would do as a designer, we can now use AI to make that quicker, and then we have a lot more time to work on the creative aspect of our jobs. The design industry doesn't seem too worried about AI. Adobe, which is one of the biggest brands linked to digital design, who produces all the software that digital designers use, are actually putting AI into their software for designers to use in their careers.
This is, I think, a difficult question, Shanice.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Sometimes there is a gap between what students want and what is good for him or her. Are you already able to assess if this pathway is suitable for a student or not?
Yes. So everyone the majority of parents now sat in this webinar, their students have studied the level 2 BTEC Digital Design course. So I would say 90% of students that will apply for the level 3 course will have studied level 2 with me. So I've already taught them for at least 2 years. I know which ones are talented designers and which ones are probably better in other areas of their studies. So yes, I can assess that. And these are things that we speak about at parents' evenings, which I think we have a parents' evening coming up as well.
Okay, thank you, Shanice. That was challenging, right?
Yes.
All right. Okay, here's another one.
Yeah.
Here's another one. Is it good or not good to do IBCP Digital Design with 3 HLIB subjects instead of 2?
I don't think that school will let you do 3 HLIB subjects because it just won't fit timetable wise, or there isn't enough hours in the day. So if you do BTEC Digital Design on the CP pathway, you study that for 10 periods a cycle. And then the higher level IB subjects are 5 periods a cycle, and the standard level are 4. So I don't think that it is allowed on the CP pathway to do 3 higher level IB. I think it's maximum of 2 and 1 standard.
How many students do you have for this course every year?
So so far on the pathway, we've now got 16 students, which is actually, I know it sounds very small, but it's a lot bigger than some of the IB subjects. So it is growing, and it will grow and continue to grow as we run it more and we get more students through university. Obviously, it's quite a new course, but like the level 2 course has grown over the last 5 years, every year the numbers have increased. So yeah, it will eventually grow, confident.
All right. Here's a question from Ritu. How can we best support our children through this 2-year digital design program?
I think the best thing is to chat to them about what they're working on and let them show you and talk to you about the projects, because that's really going to help them when they come to do their university interview. You know, getting used to showing people their work, being confident about their work, explaining their work to people that don't know what the design brief is. It's all good practice for them, and then give them feedback on it. Once they've explained the design brief to you, tell them what they should do to improve it. A lot of the time, you guys are the target audience. They're not designing for themselves ever. They're working for a client aimed at a certain group of people. So any feedback that you can give them on their work is really useful. So I think, yeah, just having lots of open discussions with them regularly and looking at what they're producing and giving them advice is really useful.
Okay, I think here's our last question. I think this goes back to the first question. I think this parent submitted 2 questions regarding taking up 3 HLIB subjects.
Yeah.
Is it good or not good? Even, let's say, will the school allow it? Let's say it's okay for that school to have students get 3 HLIB?
I don't think it's allowed. That's the genuine answer. I think it does not fit into the timetable hours wise. There's not enough. It would not fit, I think. So it has to be 2 a higher level IB and 1 standard IB plus the BTEC. That I've not seen any students previously do 3 higher level IB.
All right, I think that's it. We have no more questions.
Okay.
Right. All right.
Great. Okay, well, thank you to everyone for attending. If you do have any questions, you've all got my email address, so you can email me at any point. I will share these slides with you, and on the slides is the spreadsheet link with the university courses and options on there. And then, yeah, we will share this webinar, right, VJ? It's recorded, so we'll share this.
Yes, we will, yes.
Session. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. Bye.